Hello everybody, today is May 10th, 2023, and this is my experiment investing $1 a day in 10 different cryptocurrencies and $1 a day in 55 different dividend stocks. I see this dotted white line, that's the start of the day, and you can see all of a sudden it shot way up. Now if we go here, we look at the week period, we can actually see it tells a different story, how everything has been going mainly down in a downward trend. We look at the 1 month period, we can see also that it's also been going in a downward trend as well. We look at the 3 month period, and we can see it went up, down, up again, and then crazily down. And we look at the all, and we can see right here, January 6, 2023 is the first time investing in my life. And then you can see many different things happen. They bailed out the banks. They announced more increases, a Fed increase. All of a sudden, cryptocurrency shot way up. And then now, when the announcement that they plan for a mild recession, everything has been going down. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to leave me a comment. Smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be posting at least every Wednesday throughout the week. So, one of the things that I want to dive into here is make sure you look at, because I like to give out these weekly updates, and we look at how everything is in the red now. Bitcoin's still up, Ethereum's still up, but everything else is still in the red. Before my long-term investments, if you've been watching or following along with my actual videos, you'll see and understand that I have a long-term plan, a long-term goal. And you can look over here and you can see all my different dividend stocks. You can also see that these ones right here are ordered in finances. So if we come over here and look at my account and we look at how each one of these are, you can see that there's finance, energy and water, consumer goods, manufacturing and materials, tech, media and telecom, healthcare, business, and hospitality. So if I come back over here, they're organized the same way. I move them around because you can click, you can drag, and you can move them around. And I didn't just organize them from the way that they are. I organize them in a sense so that they are from highest dividend yield to lowest dividend yield at the time. Now those shift as each company grows or starts to decline in a way. But you can see right here that they are organized from highest dividend yield to the lowest dividend yield and then from their bucket. So if you just quickly browse, you can see that they are organized that way. The other thing that I changed too is I have my total return instead of my equity. Like if I were to change it to my equity, you can see that this is how they've been doing and how I've been doing $1 a day since January 6, 2023. I like to look them at total return so I can see what my total money is. Sometimes I also like to change the view to today's return. So let's look at today's return because all of a sudden it somehow shot up. So let's just look to see how the today's return, and almost everything is probably going to show in the green for the events that are happening in today's world. And you can see how a lot of things are more in the green for today and how they're shooting more in an upward trend. But things change up and down. And my long-term goal has definitely been, well, what is my total return since my actual investment? So that's why you see this view more often. So I changed it to total return, and I look at it this way. And you can see JP Morgan, they're not doing bad. PNW, which is Pinnacle West, they're not doing bad either for my total return. Duke. And then some of the other ones like SO, which is, I believe, Southern. And Southern Company is the only company which engages in generating a sale of electricity and operating through the following schematics. So commodities and energy and water, huge things that I announced even before. CWH, which is Camping World. People, with today's world, housing market going up, renting prices are still up, inflation's still high, the Fed's still trying to raise interest rates. People want to have alternative ways to live outside their means. So a supplier that has the ability to have outdoors and sports things that people will need to live off the grid or other things is probably going to be one that will do not bad, which that's why I decided, and it is. We have KHC, which is craft foods, canned goods, long-term storage. People are prepping for whatever may or may not happen. But if the Fed's going to announce a mild recession, and they're going to announce a mild recession, plan for a recession in some way. So, stocking up on food and other goods, toothbrushes, toilet paper, and other things like that, those are maybe an important thing, especially canned goods. So we have a whole bunch of different aspects and different things that you can think of. Now, I know I hit on before UAN. Well, UAN is also one that's still doing good from what I mentioned before, which is fertilizer. Fertilizer, like how I mentioned before in some of my other videos, when Russia went to war with Ukraine, so the trade of fertilizer had to go to somewhere else. And as it goes to somewhere else, you can see that it skyrocketed right when the war started to, when it started to pick off. And then all of a sudden it just shot off. And here it is. And it's still doing good. So, and it also pays out a high dividend yield, which I mentioned as well, 24,356, which they paid me a decent dividend yield way back in the day. So if I come over here, not way back in the day, but in the sense, if we come over here and we do history and we look at dividends, and we'll scroll down here and let's go look for UAN. And then I also showed it too in one of my other videos. But see, UAN paid me $3.21 way back in March 13th. And again, they don't pay out another high dividend yield until much later time. But they paid out in March, and then I won't expect another big payment in March again. But I didn't have that much money in there at the time. I think I only had like $40 at the time, and they paid me $3. And they're still doing well. So yes, each one of these stocks can be and will be at a risk because you have to look at your own finances, do your own research. Don't listen to some random person like me online and just, put money into something that you can't afford. If you can't afford 5 of the same item, you probably shouldn't be buying one. But I take it even more extreme. If you can't buy 10 of the same items, if you can't buy 10 tacos, if you can't buy 10 phones, maybe you shouldn't be buying one of them. You can do whatever you want with your money. It's your money. But if you want to actually make it somewhere in the future, start thinking of how to save for the future. How are rich people, and why do rich people become big? Because they're glorified savers. They've learned to be able to save, and not just save, make that money work for them after they saved it. So the first step in anything is learn to be able to at least save. Because I know that there's so many news articles out there, or so many things out there where they say, 70% or a lot of different Americans, they don't even have $1,000 in the bank. And I talk to a lot of different people. Some people believe it and some people don't. Like, for example, my spouse. She's from another country. She doesn't believe that most Americans will only have 1,000 because most of her friends and people that she knows and interacts with have money saved away, are doing financially okay. However, me, I've been throughout all different jobs and all different aspects of life, and I've had many, many coworkers, even where I'm working today, where they live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, and when I mean paycheck to paycheck, I literally mean you're in debt, you have credit card debt, like, I'm making 50,000 a year, I'm doing fine. But if you're spending all your money that you're making and you don't have anything saved, you don't have $1,000 in the bank, you don't have $300 in the bank, or more or less, then you're living paycheck to paycheck. You have to be able to have enough finances saved away in some form or fashion for however long you can live. Retirement, all it is you're taking your savings, and however many years you can live on your savings or investments or whatever it is that you have, that's what lets you be able to retire and go from there. It's like, okay, I'm going to have my 401k, I'm going to have my Social Security. Those are just 2 avenues. But if you look at today and how all the conversations are going, your same money today doesn't buy you the same money it bought you the next day. Say, I was having a discussion with one of my friends offline about this, and he was talking about Germany, right? When Germany had their hyperinflation, and I talked about this in one of my other videos as well, after the world wars, they had super hyperinflation, where the cost of a loaf of bread was hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so different marks. And the story was, a wheelbarrow was worth more than money. People had to get paid daily, and they had to spend that money that day so that they could get food or commodities. So what happens is they would get paid, and he would put all of his money in a wheelbarrow. He'd take his, and these are true stories. This is not myth. This is history. This is facts. So they put all their marks. They put it inside their wheelbarrow. They would go in front of the store, and he would camp and sleep in front of the store so he could buy food, buy bread. Well, he fell asleep, and as he fell asleep, when he woke up, he found a pile of cash, which was his money, in the floor in front of him, and his wheelbarrow was stolen because his wheelbarrow was worth more than the money. Hyperinflation can and will happen, and history tends to repeat itself. Will hyperinflation happen to us? Probably not, because the US dollar is the standard and everybody's using the US dollar as of right now. But if you look at the world events and how things are going right now, with de-dollarization and people also trying to not use the US dollar anymore for trades. You look at China, doesn't want to trade anymore the US dollar, so they're using yuan, and they are going to go ahead and they're going to trade with Russia, and they're not going to use the US dollar between the trade between them. And China's going to open up a pipeline between China and Russia, so that China can now have its own fuel and energy for gas. So there's a lot of different things going on now. There's going to be central bank digital system. If you don't know what central bank digital system is or ever even heard this word, you probably should look it up and do your own research of what central bank digital system is and why it's coming and how the US is going to use central bank digital system to possibly, with how everything's happened with this possible, very highly likely, announced already, recession that's coming. They're going to push in central bank digital system and they're going to say, here's your savior. And they're going to rip out the US dollar in some form. Like, oh, the US, they're never going to do that. Well, if you look at history, they did it before. They took gold and they said, okay, we're going to take gold out of the US dollar. And if you owed gold, you were fined $10,000 and you were thrown in jail if you didn't turn in your gold. This is history. This has happened in the US. And history tends to repeat itself because that is what happens. It's a loop, it's a cycle. People forget about history, people don't think about history. I've never been a big history buff, but when it comes to when I started investing and learning about things, I was like, oh, these things are important. And that's also why I started investing, is because I realized that all my money, because I'm like one of those average normal people that do save, I have all my money in the bank, and I never saw any huge returns. I just saw pennies, and because it was, oh, put your money in the bank, save, and eventually you'll do good. That's not how it works in today's world. The money back in the day, you could buy hamburgers for 10 cents. Now, what's a hamburger or a Big Mac at McDonald's? $5, $6? 10 cents to $5, $6, and that was not even that long ago. We're talking about 30, 40 years ago, right? And if you're thinking about, oh, how old am I now? Oh, I'm 20 years old. Okay, so I have a good 40 years before I retire. It's not a big deal. If it costs $5 to $6 now from 10 cents, can you imagine the inflation of how much it will cost a hamburger in 30 years? And I'm just doing comparison of hamburger because a lot of people can relate to hamburger. You can't relate to hamburger. Let's look at milk. Milk in Hawaii, and I'm from Hawaii, right? If the island of Oahu, Honolulu, main island, North Shore, whatever it is, a gallon of milk back in the day when I was a kid, between $6, $8. But if you go to different separate islands, they're $15 a gallon. So all these different things are very important and play effect. So thinking about these things in the long term, definitely a good idea. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to leave me a comment. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Please hit the like button. It helps me out. If you want to subscribe, feel free to subscribe. You don't have to subscribe. Come back once a week. Come back once a month. See what I have here. See how my investments are doing. And again, thank you again for being here with me. And you all have a wonderful rest of your day.